This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Alright, and welcome to the GSMC Sports Podcast. This episode is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. And as always, I am your host, Jesse Tapia. Alright, it's Friday, the end of the week, everyone's favorite day. So, obviously, if you were paying attention to sports yesterday, you were probably watching the draft. Or you were watching the Celtics versus Bucks. Or maybe you were watching the Capitals give up 3 goals in the third period to lose to the Penguins. All right? I'm not sure. But either way, you read the title of the podcast today. We're focusing on the draft. All right? We're going to spend a couple of segments on the draft. We're going to be talking about Game 6 between Milwaukee and Boston. And then for the fourth segment, we're going to be talking about anything else going on in the world of sports. All right? And, I mean, the draft pretty much, I guess before even they get in-depth into it or anything like that, like the draft delivered, okay? The draft delivered. I was excited for it. Probably haven't been this excited about a draft in a while. Yeah, I don't think I've ever been this excited for a draft ever, actually. But nonetheless, I mean, it was like one of those things where, I mean, for some, it probably gets boring because after whenever your team picks, usually my team picks pretty high. But let's say that you're like a Bills fan, or not even a Bills fan, because I figure this is a little bit more exciting for you since they made 2 picks. Let's say you're the Broncos, okay? You make the 5th pick, you get Chubb. After that, I mean, it's pretty much watching other teams make their picks, and you usually maybe get kind of bored or whatever. But I don't think this was one of those cases. I feel like the draft, I mean, after my team made their pick, I was pretty much watching after, just excited to see who's going where and whatnot. So I really do think that the draft was exciting as we all pictured it to be. All right, we had a bunch of trades. We had a couple of surprise picks, actually a few surprise picks. I mean, the top 10 was full of surprises there. The Browns, I mean, of course, we haven't even talked about them, but the Browns did what the Browns always do here. And let's see, anything else? I mean, I had a couple of really good players slide. Minka Fitzpatrick fell to 11 to the Dolphins. You had Derwin James going to 19 to the Chargers. Or was it 17? I think it was... Let's see, it was 17 to the Chargers. Excuse me. All right. 19th pick was Vander Esch. Is it Etch or Esch? Or is it Esk? I don't know. But either way, like I said, the draft was very exciting. 4 quarterbacks taken in the top 10. I think that's a record. We had 5 taken in the first round. Lamar Jackson ended up getting picked up by the Ravens, which, I mean, I like it. All right. So, yeah, like I said, it was fun. Bears made a real solid pick. I like what the Dolphins did at 11 with Fitzpatrick. Same with the Chargers getting Derwin James. I mean, I highly doubt that they even thought that he'd fall that far down to them. I mean, that's an instant starter right there, week 1. Let's see. The Patriots, surprisingly enough, did use both of those first-round picks. Seahawks reached up for a running back they probably could have got in the 2nd or 3rd round. Classic Seattle fashion there. The Steelers picked a safety they probably could have got in the 3rd or 4th round. And the Steelers, as far as picking players for the secondary, I mean, it's what they do, I guess. I mean, it's never really turned out well. So we'll see if this guy is Terrell Edmonds is pretty good. Sony Michel, of course, goes to the Patriots. I mean, why wouldn't they probably get one of the best running backs in the draft? I mean, that dude's gonna thrive. Given he's only going to play about maybe 4 games this season because Bill Belichick loves to rotate running backs, but nonetheless, those 4 games are going to be great. So, like I said, draft is full of surprises. I enjoyed it. I'm sure you enjoyed it. So, let's get into it. All right, and like I said, we're going to spend 2 segments on it, so we'll talk probably more so about a couple of teams here and then talk about the rest later on. But, obviously, let's talk about the Browns real quick, okay? Had the 1st pick, had the 4th pick. Obviously, we all knew they were taking a quarterback. We talked about it yesterday. Pretty much the whole deal was it looked like it was going to be Mayfield. At least that was the rumors coming out for the day. And let me say this, okay? Like, there was rumors coming out as to who the Browns were going to take, and it was probably going to be Mayfield. But going into the draft where you're not exactly sure, like, I saw the rumors saying, like, oh, yeah, it's probably going to be Mayfield or whatever. But there was no, like, Adam Schefter, yes, the Browns are taking Baker Mayfield with the number 1 pick, like, a couple hours before the draft. Like, up until they made the pick, I wasn't entirely sure that, yeah, it was going to be Mayfield. But sure enough, it was. All right. And Browns fans didn't look too happy about it because I was watching it on ESPN, and when they pretty much shifted over the camera to the Browns fans, they didn't look happy. All right, they didn't look like they finally got their franchise quarterback or anything like that. And I mean, I guess I kind of do understand why Browns fans weren't happy about it because I mean Baker Mayfield. And this is one thing, I mean, like with draft analysts, like big boards and stuff like that, as far as where they got players ranked, you can't really, like, I don't know, like, some had Mayfield as their number 1 guy. Some had Mayfield as their number 2 guy. Some had Mayfield as their number 4 guy. All right, and I feel like most of the big boards I saw had Mayfield as the 4th best quarterback in the draft. Okay. Sam Darnold, I feel like, was the consensus number 1 across all big boards, so I'm sure Browns fans were expecting the team to go out and take Darnold. All right, and that's kind of what it seemed like it was going to be the entire time. Darnold was always the constant as far as, like, of course you're going to have guys like Allen's name come up for the number 1 pick. I think Rosen's name came up once or twice. Mayfield's came up maybe once or twice up until the day of. But nonetheless, the constant that was always there was Sam Darnold as far as being the number 1 quarterback and the guy that the Browns are looking at. So I always figured it was going to be him. But nonetheless, like I said, it was Baker Mayfield. And, I mean, like I said, I understand why Browns fans got frustrated at the pick. I'm sure they probably looked back a couple years and figured, yeah, we took that Johnny Manziel kid, and that didn't really work out. And I'm sure that's what the comparison is right here for the Browns fans. They think they drafted Johnny Manziel again. I'm sure there's some out there that are happy with the pick and all that, but it's pretty much just, yeah, I get it. I get why. You're afraid, Browns fans. You're afraid because you don't want Johnny Manziel 2.0. All right. And with Baker Mayfield, I mean, I'm not entirely mad at the pick, believe it or not. Okay? I don't hate Baker Mayfield going number 1. Baker Mayfield, there's always like that one quarterback in the draft, either this guy's going to sink or swim. Okay? Last year it was Deshaun Watson, and I think this year, and I'm not saying Deshaun Watson and Baker Mayfield are close on talent or anything like that, but I'm just saying, like, with Baker Mayfield, it's like, with these other quarterbacks, maybe they're going to need to sit a year in order to develop a little bit more. It's like Baker Mayfield. You throw him out there, I mean, you're pretty much, whatever you get is what you get, okay? You could get a top quarterback, and that number 1 pick, you could tell, yeah, this guy's going to work out, or he's just going to be a bust. I don't think there's really much of a developmental type stage here, all right? Like, the safer pick would have been Darnold, okay? It would have been Darnold, no doubt. Darnold, you could sit for a year or two, and he'll be ready to go, most likely. But with Mayfield, it's pretty much just like I said, you're not really entirely sure. Like, I really hope that this front office, this organization, was on the same page as far as taking Mayfield. All right, because if not, the stories that are going to come out are going to be glorious, especially if this guy doesn't work out. Okay, but nonetheless, they took Baker. That's their quarterback. I'm curious to see what they end up doing with him. Are they going to do a little quarterback competition with him and Tyrod Taylor, or are they just going to have him sit for a year? Who knows? Okay. But nonetheless, they took Baker number 1. And then with the 4th pick, they take Denzel Ward. Okay. And that was probably the first surprising pick of the draft, them taking Denzel Ward. And I just feel like, I don't know, I feel like you probably could have traded back and still got him. Because this was one of those picks where it's like, you know what, like you could tell, like, this was one of those picks where this is Cleveland's guy. Like, they wanted Denzel Ward. They probably had, honestly, yeah, they had to have had Denzel Ward as the highest rated player on their big board as far as defense goes. Okay? And it's just a matter of, okay, you're going to stick to your guns here, but you better hope you're right. Cleveland, like, and I'm sure Cleveland, like the Denzel Ward pick, I'm not, like, right now, obviously, since he got taken 4th, or probably higher than most had him going. I'm sure most had him going either in that, like 9 through 15 range right there. All right, but think about it. Cleveland did take the number 1 corner at number 4. Okay, granted, you still had guys like Minkah Fitzpatrick, Bradley Chubb still left out there, Quentin Nelson, okay? Guys like that still left, and you chose Denzel Ward over them. And I'm sure most probably had Chubb and Nelson at least, and Fitzpatrick, I'm sure, and James, for that matter, over Denzel Ward. But, like I said, Cleveland did take the number 1 cornerback. So let's say the guy goes out there and he plays good starting week 1. We're not going to think twice about where he got drafted. I mean, if the pick works out, then it's a solid pick. All right? I don't really have a problem with it. I'm just kind of nitpicking here. So I guess like if they wanted to trade back, then like if they probably should have traded back and got him that way. But like I said, I'm not mad at it. Okay, let's say Denzel Ward doesn't like turn into like Marshawn Lattimore or anything like that, but pretty much has a solid rookie year as a cornerback. Let's say Denzel Ward is the best rookie cornerback, one of the best defensive players this season. No one's going to care. So I'm not really more so mad at the Browns for that pick either. It's just a matter of you, the organization, most likely had the consensus that this is the guy. Okay? Talking about Mayfield and Ward. These are the guys we're going to take, no matter what. It's these guys. All right? So now it's just a matter of, I mean, you took them at 1 and 4. It is what it is. But these guys, like, they need to work out. Okay? Like, they need to be great players. There is no, they're okay players and all that. They're going to have nice little NFL careers. Like, no, these need to be day 1 starters. Mayfield, I'd understand if he wasn't, but they need to be day 1 starters and playing well from the get-go, okay? Because when you pass up on a guy like Quentin Nelson, who very well could be with the Indianapolis Colts for 15 years, that's how good of a guard he is, or offensive line prospect he is, and you give up on Bradley Chubb, where that was arguably the best defensive player in the draft, okay? For the best cornerback, probably the 5th best player on defense, probably the 10th best player overall at number 4. I mean, you're going to have to answer to some people. So I really, truly hope that the Cleveland Browns got this right, okay? Because if not, I mean, this is going to be a never-ending cycle. And even then, so I mean, it's just, I don't know. I don't understand. I mean, I guess I kind of do, but it's just, it just seems like this is classic Cleveland right here, right? It just seems like this is going to be one of those moments where, like, of course this happened. Of course these guys didn't work out, okay? But I don't know, like, with Mayfield, I feel like with that pick, you got to be bold, right? I feel like that's the only reason why I like the Mayfield pick, okay? Obviously, the safer pick would have been Darnold. All right, but I feel like it's just Cleveland's been bad for about 20 years straight. Like, you had to go out and be bold. You had to go out and take a risk. You had to do something out of the ordinary in order to pretty much change this up, this whole little funk that they've been in. Okay? But, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I feel like they tried doing that, drafting a 28-year-old quarterback in Brandon Whedon a couple years back. I mean, so who knows there? I mean, they did the same thing taking Johnny Manziel. So maybe it's just another bad decision by Cleveland. But I do think, I don't know, I like Baker Mayfield. I think he's going to bring a nice little culture change to this team. And he might just be he just might be the player that they needed all along. So we'll see. But we're going to wrap it up here. And that's not going to stop the draft talk, though. We're going to be talking about that later on in the show. All right, if anything, we'll just, you know what, we'll just keep going on with the draft in the second segment. So, yeah, when we get back from the little break that we have, we'll be talking more about the draft, more so less about the Browns and all the other teams. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines. They got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. All right, spent that first segment basically just talking about the Browns and their two picks that they made. Went with Baker Mayfield and Denzel Ward. I mean, if you think about it, the draft is very weird to critique because of the fact that we don't know if it's a good pick till they play. But now we pretty much just judge their pick because of where they were taken, I guess. Like taking Denzel Ward at number 4 when you could have got Bradley Chubb or Quentin Nelson. I mean, it's technically a reach. It is a reach, okay? So I can't get mad at people critiquing the pick there. But, I mean, if Denzel Ward, who for most, I think the consensus was that he was the number 1 cornerback in the draft, if he goes out and pretty much plays well like a Marshawn Lattimore or anything close to that, you'd say that that was worth it for the 4th pick, right? So we'll see. And with the Browns, I mean, Baker Mayfield, that's the guy. That's the future right there. Very curious to see because I feel like with the Browns quarterbacks, I mean, they usually get about a year and then they stink and then the Browns are just completely done with him. All right, let's say Mayfield doesn't really play well in his first year. Are they going to stick with him or are they just going to go back to the whole quarterback carousel they've been doing all year? Not all year. All the last 20 years, the last 2 decades. So we'll see, but I'm not mad at the picks, okay? If they play well, then they're good picks. And I guess it sounds like since I'm not making like a set, oh yeah, this is a bad pick or anything like that, kind of like me waiting to see what happens. I mean, it is what it is sometimes. So there's that. All right, but like the Browns, they better hope they got these ones right, or else I'm just gonna kill them. All right, so there's that. Let's see what else. Because of the fact that Baker Mayfield was taken number 1, we had a little dilemma, or at least a little question: who's going number 2? Okay. Rumor was that the Giants, the only quarterback they liked in this draft was Sam Darnold. All right, the only way that they take Darnold is if he was available. So pretty much with that number 2 pick, we were seeing what's going to go on with the Giants. Are they going to take a quarterback, or are they going to go with Saquon Barkley? And if you watched, you saw that they went with Saquon Barkley. Great pick. All right, perfectly fine with it. I'll go out and say, this was a great pick, no doubt. All right, this was a safe pick, but it was the right pick. Okay, you go and you take a guy like Darnold. He's probably going to sit 2 years at least because Eli's got 2 more years on his deal. I think it is this year and the next. But with Barkley, you get a guy who's out there ready to go from day one. And the Giants too. I mean, yes, like there's the question of will the Giants ever be in this position and go out and get a quarterback this high? Probably not. Okay, probably not. But you throw Barkley out there, okay, and it's not like the Giants can't go out and take a quarterback in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, whatever, for the rest of the draft. So I'm not entirely mad at it or whatever. And I do like Eli Manning still. But anyways, you throw Barkley out there, starting running back. You got OBJ, Odell Beckham Jr., Evan Ingram, okay, and I think you still got Sterling Shepard out there, and we're still trying to figure out what's going on with Dez Bryant. I'm still kind of seeing like if he's going to end up there. He did go out and say that the Giants went out and made a great pick when they picked up Barkley, but I mean, like I said, this is a safe pick. Offense is going to look good this year. Eli's not really going to have to go out and do too much. All right, when you don't want him throwing the ball, have him hand it off to Barkley. When it's time to throw the ball, oh, wait, you got Odell Beckham Jr. right there. So I like the pick. I think it was the right pick for the Giants. I think taking Darnold would have been all right, but even then, so I think you got the most value for your pick at number 2, given the circumstances of your organization right now. All right, but like I said, the Giants better hope they're good, because if, let's just say Eli blows it this year or whatever, that whole thing of, they aren't ever going to be this high again to take a quarterback like that, it's going to be a problem. All right, and speaking of Sam Darnold, he ended up going to the Jets at number 3. Jets pretty much made out good here with the trade with the Colts. All right, gave up a few picks, but nonetheless, they got arguably the number 1 quarterback in the draft. Okay, and the trade pretty much worked out as well as it could for them. Best case scenario here, we trade up. All right, maybe we get a guy like Mayfield, or maybe it's just we get Darnold. All right, and they got Darnold, so very curious to see who's going to end up being the starter week 1, because let's not forget, not only do they have Josh McCown, but they do have Teddy Bridgewater there also. Okay, I don't understand the whole, and if let's say they were deciding of cutting Bridgewater or McCown, I think it's got to be. I have to double check how much money each is making, but I know that Bridgewater's making a whole lot less than McCown. So we'll see, but I don't know. Like, you figure that you figure with some of these teams that took quarterbacks, like one of these guys is going to be the starter week one. Like obviously a couple of them, or all of them actually took a veteran quarterback, signed a veteran quarterback as kind of like the stopgap. But it's just like, I don't know, like McCown, Bridgewater, Darnold. I'm very curious to see who we have starting week one. All right. I'm not sure. Next quarterback off the board was Josh Allen at number 7. Buffalo traded up with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I believe it was, to go out and get him. Buffalo got their quarterback, and they actually traded up twice in this draft. They took Quentin Nelson, and then they ended up taking Tremaine Edmonds with the 16th pick. Traded up to get him. All right, Edmonds. You could either go with him or Roquan Smith as the top linebacker in this class. The only thing that really kind of makes me nervous with Edmonds is his age. He's only 19 years old. I'm 2 years older than the guy. It's just kind of weird to me, just given how young he is, and you're throwing out a 19-year-old kid, all right, because that's what he is. He's just a kid. Throwing out a 19-year-old kid pretty much into that NFL lifestyle and all that pretty much. I mean, he is in Buffalo, so there's not much to do out there, but I don't know. As far as maybe, I don't know, he's just really young. So, I mean, it might not be a problem. He just could be fine, and I'm sure he will be fine. Dude's built like a monster there. And as far as Josh Allen, I mean, I haven't really been that high on Josh Allen, okay? I would take Mayfield, Darnold, Rosen, and Lamar Jackson before I take Josh Allen, okay? Obviously, he's got like that prototype quarterback, prototypical quarterback getup and all that. The size, the hand size, the height, all that, arm strength. He could throw a ball through a tornado, all that good stuff, okay? But it's just, I don't know, like, he was at Wyoming, and obviously there's not too much talent in Wyoming, all right? But like, he was the third, some little award they got, like third team quarterback in the Mountain West. They didn't, like, it's not like he went out and elevated Wyoming and they went out and won a bunch of games in their conference or anything like that. Like, I think they finished like 3rd or 4th or something like that. It wasn't great. All right. So with Josh Allen, I mean, I do think like this is the guy who needs to sit about a year or two before he even touches the field. All right. Sharpen up his skill set a bit and pretty much just get ready to go. But we'll see what the Bills end up doing. And as far as the Bills trading up, I mean, they traded up twice in this first round. Okay. I do like Edmonds because I have said before that the Bills do need to bring in reinforcements on the defense. Just plug up some of the holes that they got. And I mean, it was kind of just like a given that they were going to trade up for a quarterback, but they still have a problem at wide receiver. They still have problems at the O-line. So we'll see if they're going to use these middle rounds with the picks they have left. They can use those rounds to go out and get the players that they need. It's going to be interesting to see. But as far as Josh Allen goes, I mean, like I said, I have him as the 5th best. I had him as the 5th best quarterback. I mean, my big board doesn't mean anything, but nonetheless, I mean, that's just my opinion there. So we'll see what ends up going on there. I mean, is it going to be him or A.J. McCarron as the week 1 starter? If I'm Buffalo, I got to be smart with it. As of right now, Josh Allen has nothing to work with on that offense besides LaShawn McCoy. So I'm starting A.J. McCarron week 1. I mean, you can't just throw Josh Allen out into the fire with no weapons to use or anything like that. So we'll see what their plan is. And then you had Josh Rosen going number 10 to the Cardinals. They traded up with the Raiders to take a guy like Rosen. I mean, there was talk as if Rosen maybe could end up with Miami if he did fall. And he did fall. It was just right before Miami. And I'm not even really sure if Miami was actually going to end up taking a quarterback because of the fact that it just kind of seems like it's like the little smoke screen, all right? Set up the smoke screen, tell everyone, yeah, we're going to take a quarterback, or we're thinking about taking a quarterback. You have the Bills and Cardinals trade up who do need a quarterback and pretty much just let a guy like Minka Fitzpatrick fall to your lap, but we'll talk about that in a few moments. But like I said, I mean, as far as Josh Rosen goes, I love this pick for the Cardinals. All right, I love it. Josh Rosen, you could tell he was frustrated at the fact that there were 4 or 3 quarterbacks taken before him. He did not like that at all. All right, and it seems like one of those where, yeah, I'm going to remember this, and I'm going to go out, and I'm going to destroy every team that passed on me. And I'm perfectly fine with that. All right, the guy is going to be a monster. If anything, I think that Josh Rosen is going to end up having the best career. All right, Josh Rosen I think is the best passer in this draft, and I think he's probably the most NFL-ready quarterback. And if it comes down to it, I mean, Bradford isn't the most durable quarterback, and I think we've known this, okay? Mike Glennon isn't the greatest quarterback, and I think we've known this. Josh Rosen probably is going to get some playing time this year, all right? And I'm all for it. I'm all for Josh Rosen here. And that NFC West, a lot of good quarterbacks. Jimmy Garoppolo, Russell Wilson, Goff. And you got Bradford as of right now, but Rosen could be filling in. I mean, this team has 3 really young quarterbacks, one that's about to hit his prime. NFC West is sitting pretty as far as the best division with the quarterbacks. Not yet, but I'm talking about eventually. They probably will be. And same with the AFC East. I mean, I'm very intrigued to see Darnold and Allen go at it. And I don't know, you think we're going to see those two play against each other this season? Or you think it's just going to be pretty much they're going to sit the entire year and there's that? They'll be ready next season. Who knows? But as far as Miami goes, I mean, Ryan Tannehill's still the guy. And then over in New England, they never took Lamar Jackson. So Tom Brady, he's playing forever. All right. And at one point, I did think that, oh, wow, the AFC East is going to have 3 new quarterbacks. I think we're going to see Darnold, Allen, and Rosen go into the AFC East. And I was all for it. I was ready for that. All right. The new age of quarterbacks set to try and destroy Tom Brady finally this time. But turns out it's just going to be up to Darnold and Allen. I guess Tannehill, unless they end up going with like a Mason Rudolph or anyone like that in the second, third, or whatever rounds that are left. All right. But as far as the quarterbacks that were taken, I mean, I do like the spots they ended up with. Cleveland needs that dog in Baker Mayfield. They need that guy who's going to come out and pretty much just try and switch everything up on his own. Like I said, Josh Allen, that's a nice little fit in Buffalo because of the fact that they play cold weather and all that. I mean, going from Wyoming to Buffalo, there's got to be no difference whatsoever. Rosen, I think he's going to be great with the Cardinals, and then you got Darnold. I mean, the dude's going to be a star with that New York media, so we'll see. But as far as all the other picks, like I said, I like Roquan Smith going to the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears are going to have a sneaky good team this season. All right, I've been sitting on that take for a while. Even in the middle of last season, I was saying, yeah, they're going to be a very good team. Bradley Chubb going to the Broncos. I mean, imagine being a quarterback. You look to your left, you got Bradley Chubb. You look to your right, you got Von Miller. That's not going to be a fun sight. Colts finally got Andrew Luck some offensive line help. Got Quentin Nelson, probably going to be there his whole career if he turns out well. 49ers got Jimmy G some offensive line help too. Got him a new offensive tackle, Mike McGlinchey. I think is how you pronounce his last name. Like I said, Miami, they got Minkah Fitzpatrick, and they got arguably probably the second best defensive player in the draft. Third. I kind of like Roquan Smith better, but nonetheless, they got a day one starter. This allows them to move TJ McDonald to the linebacker spot in the nickel. And you could also have Fitzpatrick. I mean, Miami's been trying year after year to get a guy who could cover Gronk. Maybe Fitzpatrick is that. A little bit physical and quick enough to keep up with him. So we'll see. But I do like that pick for Miami. I think that's in like an instant impact type pick. I figure that Minkah Fitzpatrick is probably going to be like a Jalen Ramsey, just good from day one. So we'll see about that. Like I said, I do like the Derwin James pick for San Diego. They're going to have a very good team this year. I'm not saying Super Bowl, but they will make the playoffs. All right, let's see. Any other picks that I liked? Lions kind of surprised me taking Ragnow, the center, out of Arkansas with the 20th pick. I figured they'd go running back, but maybe they knew that Geis was going to be someone who slipped, so you could take him in the second round. That's a possibility. I do like Rashad Evans going to the Titans, the linebacker out of Alabama. I think he's going to be a solid player for them. Let's see. DJ Moore going to the Panthers. I mean, solid pick. Finally get Cam Newton, some real receivers out there. Let's see how well DJ Moore plays. Calvin Ridley, Julio Jones, number 2. And I'm not saying that just because of the fact that they're similar in gameplay or anything like that. Both come out of Alabama. It's going to be a fun little duo to watch. The Rashad Penny pick by the Seahawks kind of confused me a bit when you have Sony Michel still on the board and Darius Geis. I figure you go with one of those guys, but it's just like with the Browns taking with the Browns taking Denzel Ward at 4. I mean, if the guy plays well, no one's going to question where he was taken. If anything, it's going to make the Seahawks look smarter if he plays well. All right, and then we had, like I said, Sony Michel going to the Patriots at number 31. I mean, classic Patriots pick there. I'm sure that dude's going to be a beast. And like I said, last pick of the first round, I should say, Lamar Jackson. It is over. The Joe Flacco era is over after this year. No doubt. I'm not even sure if he lasts the entire year here. This is the last year they got to go out and pay him his guaranteed money. After that, they can cut him and get off free. I'm very excited for the Lamar Jackson era in Baltimore. And you could tell this guy does have a chip on his shoulder. Was very mad at the fact that everyone passed on him. I cannot wait. I think he even said he's going to bring a Super Bowl to Baltimore eventually. So I think Lamar Jackson, if they build the team around him and pretty much suit the offense to fit him, great pick right here. I like it a lot. So we'll see. But obviously, we have the draft. It's going to be going on this weekend. We're going to talk more about it on Tuesday when we're back here. But we're going to wrap up all the draft talk here. Next up, we're going to be talking about the Celtics and Bucks game for segment 3. And then, like I said, for the 4th segment, we're going to be talking about whatever else is going on in the world of sports. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA, from the UFC to extreme cage fighting. They got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. We talked about the draft for the first 2 segments, as we probably should, because of the fact that the draft was such a big story. But nonetheless, that wasn't the only thing going on last night. We had the Boston Celtics and Milwaukee Bucks facing off in Game 6. Obviously, a must-win for Milwaukee here. If they ended up losing, they go home. And for Boston, I mean, it'd be nice just to close out the series. All right. Game was close for the most part, and then Milwaukee just ended up running away with it with the last couple of minutes. All right, Milwaukee ended up winning this game 97-86. For the Celtics, you had Al Horford with 10 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, shot 4 of 8. Semi Ojeleye played 22 minutes in this one, 0 points, 4 rebounds. Jason Tatum had 22 points, 3 assists, 2 steals, 3 rebounds, shot 6 of 14, 2 of 6 from the three-point line. Terry Rozier struggled so far in the series other than games 1 and 2. Shot 5 of 17 in game 6, 4 of 12 from the three-point line, had 16 points, 5 assists, 7 rebounds. Jaylen Brown was okay in this one, had 14 points, 5 rebounds, shot 6 of 15, 1 of 6 from the three-point line. And then off the bench, you had Marcus Morris, who, wasn't great. Shot 5 of 14 from the field, had 14 points, 2 assists. And then Marcus Smart was 2 of 9 from the field there, had 6 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist. Not really a Marcus Smart game there. All right, and then for the Bucks, you had Giannis Antetokounmpo, who only went for 16 points, I think it was in Game 5. Ended up erupting for 31 in Game 6, had 14 rebounds, 14 assists, 2 steals, shot 13 of 23. Chris Middleton, Celtics haven't had one answer for him so far this series. That's probably been, if anything, besides Giannis. No, Chris Middleton has been the Bucks' most consistent player throughout the series, okay? Giannis had that bad game 5. Middleton, I don't think, has had one bad game yet. Dude has been on fire. 7 of 8 from the field, 16 points, 5 rebounds. Obviously, 16 points doesn't sound like too much, but when you're never missing, it's a problem, or at least for the other team. All right, Thon Maker got the start in this one, had 4 points, 7 rebounds, got into foul trouble, finished the game with 5 fouls, was 2 of 6 from the field. Eric Bledsoe, just like Terry Rozier, Bledsoe's really struggled for the entire series. Rozier more so since Game 3, but nonetheless, Bledsoe struggled. He went 3 of 10 from the field, 1 of 4 from the three-point line, had 4 assists, 9 points. Malcolm Brogdon played well, had 16 points, 5 of 7 shooting, hit 1 3. And then off the bench, you had Jabari Parker, who went 4 of 10 from the field, had 9 points, 11 rebounds. But those 9 points, I feel like Those were like big, like those are like 9 big points right there. It's not like, oh yeah, he scored them like sporadically throughout the game. Like no, those points came at very important times of the game. Then you had Tony Snell, who took 6 shots off the bench, all of them from the 3-point line, hit 2 of them. And like I said, same thing with Tony Parker. Those 2 threes that he hit were important. He had 6 points in this one. And then you had Dellavedova and Tyler Zeller with 3 points there. Dellavedova did have 6 assists though. All right, so like I said, the Celtics ended up losing this one 97-86. This game was, after the first quarter, you had Boston up by 2. Second quarter comes, and Milwaukee outscores Boston by 11. All right, Milwaukee's up, 9 at the end of the first half. And it's just Boston never really recovered there. Kept it close. But nonetheless, it's just a matter of they just really couldn't take over at all. And I don't know what it is with the Celtics team. I feel like it's pretty simple. Game plan should be get Horford more involved on the offensive end. All right, Horford should be getting at least 20 points a game. When he does that, they don't lose. And sure enough here, he only got, what did I say? I think it was like 14 points, I think it was. 10 points. Only got 10 points. All right. Not really used too much on the offensive end. Had 8 shots. Didn't get to the free throw line once. That's a problem. All right. Al Horford does need to get to the free throw line. Jason Tatum played better in this one. Had 22 points, 3 rebounds, like I said. And then with Jaylen Brown, he was okay. He wasn't bad by any means, but it's just like you kind of need Jaylen, even though he's only in his second year, to step up and pretty much take over that big role like that Kyrie left. All right, but there's that. And as far as the Bucks go, the Bucks, the main difference I see with the Bucks compared to other teams is that the Celtics have always been a team this season, it seems, that they're always down by double digits somehow, some way in any game. Okay, and they always just seem to come back. But the difference with this Bucks team is that, Celtics really haven't, they'll come back. But, the Bucks really don't let it get out of hand. The Bucks, what I'm saying here is the Bucks know how to limit the run. Okay? It's not like, okay, Boston's going on a run. What do we do? No, that's not the case at all. The Bucks know how to limit the run. They know how to they stick to their game plan. They still hit shots. All right? Granted, obviously the Celtics are on a run. You're not hitting most of them, but they know when to pick and choose their moments, and they do it. And that's just basically what happened yesterday. Celtics were going on a run. They made it close, but it's just a matter of when that fourth quarter came and the Celtics were down by a couple or whatever. I didn't even think they took the lead at one point. The Bucks just still had to answer. They didn't get away from what their goal is to do. All right, and now we're heading over to Game 7. And, that's going to be on Saturday at 5 o'clock Pacific time, I believe. I got to go with the Celtics here because they were my pick to win the series, but it's just a matter of, if you're the Celtics, the Bucks are a team you didn't really want to let hang around. Okay? And I guess that could be said the other way around because of the fact that I'm sure most people, when Kyrie Irving, it was announced that he wouldn't be playing for the rest of the season, I'm sure most people had the Bucks as the favorites to win this series. All right? So maybe it's just the Bucks shouldn't let the Celtics hung around this long, but nonetheless, it's been a fun series throughout. I've enjoyed seeing Jabari Parker, and I'm very curious to see what happens with him in the offseason because of the fact that, he's going to be a free agent, a restricted free agent. I think the Bucks could match they can match whatever he gets, but it's just a matter of, the dude's going to get a lot of money from San Antonio, or not from San Antonio, from Sacramento or Orlando. So we'll see what they end up doing there. But as far as the series goes, it's Game 7. Do or die here. All right, for both teams. I'm sure Giannis is going to show up and play well. I'm just very curious to see what the Celtics have drawn up in order to beat the Bucks on Saturday. I say right now, the Bucks have probably been the better team in the series. Okay? I don't think I'm wrong saying that. It's just a matter of the Celtics. Have been playing from behind, I feel like, this entire series. The 3 games that they won, I think there was only one wire-to-wire win, and that was game 2. I think Game 1 is when they had to come back. I forget. I have to double check. But I know there was it feels like 2 out of these 3 wins have been from behind, coming from behind. And you just can't do that against the Bucks. All right. So with Game 7, Boston's got to start out strong, and they can't really let off the gas pedal. The second quarter has been their problem all series long. All right. Like I said, you saw it in this game too, where the Bucks outscored them by 11. You had the Bucks scoring 26 and the Celtics scoring 15 in the second. But nonetheless, Celtics got to get going from beginning to end. All right, and they got to have Jaylen Brown going from beginning. Then they got to have Jason Tatum playing well from the start to finish. All right. And along with Terry Rozier, man, the guy has just not played well at all since Game 3. All right, 5 of 17 isn't going to cut it. Neither is 4 of 12 from the three-point line. As far as Horford, you need to pretty much insert yourself into that offensive game plan and get yourself going first and foremost. Okay, Marcus Smart's got to start hitting shots or being a little bit more efficient. All right, it's nice that he does all the other things, but there's a point where if you're hurting the team on offense more than you're helping it on defense, that's a problem. And off the bench, you got to have Marcus Morris playing a whole lot better, being more efficient with his shots. And as far as the Bucks go, Tony Snell's got to show up. All right, Tony Snell, yes, he only went 2 of 6 yesterday, but like I said, he hit shots in big moments. Okay? Bledsoe's got to step up. Brogdon's got to play well. Middleton, Parker, and Giannis have been their best 3 players. And also, when Thon Maker's playing at his best, the Celtics really have no answer for him. So we'll see what ends up going on between these two teams in Game 7. I mean, like I said, I'll pick Boston because of the fact that I picked them to end up winning the series anyways. I picked them in 6, but I guess it's going to have to be 7 there. Milwaukee has struggled in Boston, so we'll see if they're going to be able to get it done there. But like I said, I mean, there's a lot riding here. Celtics have never lost a series where they were up 2-0. Milwaukee could be the first team to do that, so who knows. But anyway, we got 3 games going on tonight. We got Toronto, Washington, Cleveland, Indiana, and then Oklahoma City versus Utah. So we're going to talk about those a bit for the 4th segment, along with anything else going on in the world of sports. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. It's been very draft heavy, of course, and we've also talked about the Bucks and Celtics game. So that's how that's went. All right, now we talk about anything else going on in the world of sports, anything that's crossing my mind or anything like that. All right, so we had 2 NHL games going on yesterday, and I feel like I'm doing a better job at promoting the NHL than the NHL does promoting itself. I don't know. But nonetheless, we had the Capitals and Penguins playing on Thursday, and then the Sharks and Golden Knights. As you know, I picked the Capitals and Sharks to win those series, okay? Was having a little fun with it. I figured, Penguins always beat up on the Capitals whenever they meet in the playoffs. I can remember like the last 8 times, I think the Penguins have won 7 of those series, something like that. But nonetheless, the Caps were looking good. We're up 2-0 in the 3rd period, and they turned into a Washington sports team. They give up 3 goals. That's game. Penguins win 3-2. Crosby, Hornquist, and Netzel scored in the 3rd period. For Washington, you had Kuznetsov and then Alex Ovechkin scoring in that one. It's a little ridiculous, Washington. I'm not sure what it is. This is kind of like when the Raptors play the Cavs, okay? It doesn't matter how good you look. When you play this team, you're going to shrink and you're going to be terrified. And that's just basically what it was. Because, Caps pretty much had their foot on... They were pretty much in cruise control their entire time, okay? Up until that 3rd period. Okay, and even then, they were only up 1-0 going into the 3rd. End up scoring, and then it's just, I don't know what happened. To give up 3 goals in a period doesn't sound like something you would do usually. The Sharks ended up doing it yesterday, though, too. They gave up 4 in the 1st instead. And it was like 3 in the first 7 minutes of the game, too. Moving over to the Sharks and Golden Knights game. It was bad. It was terrible. Okay. 4 goals in the 1st period for the Golden Knights. 1 goal in the 2nd. 2 in the 3rd for good measure. 1 by a touchdown. Beat the Sharks 7-0. okay? This just might be classic Sharks here. It just might very well be that, all right? Look great one series, next series comes, you get blown out. All right, this is what the Sharks do. And maybe it's just a matter of, I don't know. All right, it's a bad first game. Series isn't over by any means. I'm not going to go switching my pick over to the Golden Knights. But that was just disgusting, the performance that the Sharks put out. Like, at least the Caps had some pride. All right, giving it up in the third. But, like, by the time the game started with the Sharks and Golden Knights, that game was already over. So, not a good look. Tonight, we got the Winnipeg Jets playing the Nashville Predators. I'm sure the Predators are probably going to win that series in 5-6 games. And then the Bruins and Lightning play on Saturday. All right. Also, the Sharks and Golden Knights on Saturday, too. So that was your little update on hockey on the NHL. Like I said, I mean, classic NHL to put the first games of the second round up against the NFL draft. I mean, who would even think of doing that, really? Nonetheless, they did it. So let's see what else is going on in the world of sports. Jason Witten might retire. This could be the end. All right. And with Jason Witten, where do we rank him as far as all-time tight ends? Honestly. I mean, is he... Like, I already think that Rob Gronkowski is the best tight end of all time. So, obviously, I'm putting him ahead of Jason Witten. Tony Gonzalez, I'll put ahead of Jason Witten. What about Antonio Gates? I don't know. I feel like Jason Witten's at least top 5, right? Let me see. I'm looking at the NFL receiving yards career leaders. Let's see. Tony Gonzalez is up there at number 6. This is going to be tough because of the fact that it's got the wide receivers and tight ends mixed in here. Jason Witten is the second tight end I'm seeing at 21. All right. Let's see. Where is Rob Gronkowski on this? Antonio Gates is the next one I see at number 30. Let's see. Gronk isn't even like top 50 or anything like that. And I already think he is the top tight end of all time. Yeah, I don't even see Gronk on this list. So, yeah, you got Witten, who's second all time, I believe, in receiving yards. 4 tight ends. Let's see receptions. Jason Witten's 4th all time in receptions. How about Jason Witten's a top 3 tight end? Where is Antonio Gates on this receptions list? Antonio Gates is 20th all-time in receptions. And then, let's see, touchdowns. Receiving touchdowns. All right, let's see. Tony Gonzalez is up here on all these lists pretty much, too. All right, so you got Antonio Gates, who is 6th in all-time touchdowns, ahead of number 7, Tony Gonzalez. Jason Witten is all the way... Where's Jason Witten at? Rob Gronkowski's 31st all-time in touchdowns. Witten's got to be ahead of that then, doesn't he? Doesn't look like it. Jason Witten, not much of a touchdown machine. He's not even top. Jimmy Graham's ahead of him, I believe. Jason Witten, yeah, Jimmy Graham's ahead of Jason Witten. Jimmy Graham's got, 69. Jason Witten's got 68. So, yeah, Jason Witten, top 3 tight end of all time. I'll go Gronk. I'll go Tony Gonzalez. Then I'll go Jason Witten. I feel like that's fair, isn't it? But yeah, anyways, looking like Jason Witten's going to be retiring. And, I mean, that's a guy who's pretty much going to have his name in the Cowboys Ring of Honor one day. He'll be showing up with the team. But I'm curious to see how Jason Witten would fit into the Monday Night Football booth. I think it'd be nice. I think it'd be good. I think he knows his stuff. It's just a matter of, I'm not worried about if they know their stuff. I mean, I'm not really watching the game for analysis. Like, obviously, with John Gruden, that was his thing or whatever. But I'm more so just entertain me as I'm watching the game, okay? And don't be wrong, okay? How about that? Yeah, don't be wrong and entertain. I feel like that's pretty simple. Obviously, like, the job itself isn't simple, but if you get the hang of it and whatnot, you don't get anything wrong and just entertain. Tony Romo's pretty entertaining. Sometimes he overdoes it a bit with his little emotions or whatever you want to call them, exclamations. Sometimes he gets a little too excited, but I've learned to get past it. I think Tony Romo's probably one of the best in the business. Like, obviously, I don't know. As far as my pretty much color analysts, guys like that, color commentators, I mean, Romo's out there. I used to not stand Phil Simms. Like, I couldn't stand him at one point. Gruden was cool, but I don't know. Like, Gruden, the head coach, is like starting to make me dislike Gruden, the color commentator, and that makes like no sense whatsoever. But it is what it is. Who else? I like Van Gundy and Mark Jackson. I think they're fun to listen to. See, that's like the thing right there. Van Gundy and Mark Jackson, they know their stuff and they're entertaining. All right. Mark Jackson, sometimes you could tell like he's still got some, maybe not resentment, but he's got a little something against the Warriors still. And I mean, why wouldn't you imagine? They fire you. Coach they bring in wins the title the next year. Plus, they're on your network's TV, top TV channel, probably 2 times, 1 time out of the week at least, and you got to call their game. I mean, that's gotta bring some bad feelings in, no? Yeah, it does. All right, but nonetheless, there's that. Antonio Gates, all right, doesn't look like he's gonna be back with the Chargers. He wants to come back and play, but the Chargers really don't want him. Looking like it's the Hunter Henry era in San Diego, and I'm all for it. All right. I mean, Hunter Henry, I think, is going to be a top 5 tight end in the league this season, along with Jack Doyle, especially if Andrew Luck comes back, but that's just a whole another conversation for a different day. But as far as it goes, man, I mean, these teams, like, I don't understand how you couldn't bring back Antonio Gates if you're the Chargers. Okay? Like, if he's asking for, like, a ridiculous price for the age he's at and, like, what he's giving you as far as a performer, then, yeah, that's one thing. Fine, whatever. Don't bring him back. But if he's not asking for much and he just wants to return to the team, why not bring him back? You don't need to play him anymore. Okay? And I'm sure he's better than half of the other tight ends still out here. But, I don't know. I guess that's just the NFL for you. Like Jerry Jones, I don't think Jerry Jones would ever think twice. Obviously, we got Witten retiring now, but I don't think Jerry Jones would ever think twice about cutting Jason Witten. Okay? You just don't do that. Especially with the kind of presence that Witten brings into the locker room. He's more so a leader and all that. So, yeah, that's a big no-no there. But it's just, I don't know. Like, I'd like to see these organizations show their players more loyalty. Like, not every player, but the dudes who have spent their entire careers there. All right? Like I'm thinking of the whole Brett Favre thing right now. Like, I'm fine with the Packers not bringing back Brett. Or was it Brett that just left the Packers? I can't remember. That was a while ago. That was like, what, 2007, 2006, something like that? It was 2007 because that's the Saints Colts Super Bowl, I think it was, right? I don't know. I have to look back and check. But nonetheless, I mean, yeah, I mean, I feel like if Gates isn't asking for a lot of money and he knows where he's at this point in his career, bring him back. Obviously, you can make Hunter Henry. Like, Hunter Henry's already been the top tight end on that team for a while. You're not changing anything. And I highly doubt that the backup you bring in is going to be any better than Antonio Gates right now. But I guess that is their decision. So there's that. But I don't know. I think we're just going to wrap it up. Actually, we got picks to make tonight. We got basketball games. Forgot about them. So let's see. We got Game 6 between the Raptors and Wizards. I'm going with Toronto. All right. I'm on board. Don't disappoint. Should I go with Toronto? I think I got to go with Toronto. I'm going to go with Toronto. Yeah, for Game 6, I'm going to say they close it out. We got the Cavs who have the ability of closing out the series in Indiana tonight. I'm going to go with the Pacers. I say LeBron closes it out in Game 7. Thunder and Jazz is the last game tonight. This is going to be tough. I got to go with the Jazz here, but I would not be shocked if the Thunder won at all. So I'm going to go with the Jazz. I'm going to go with the Pacers, and I'm going to go with the Raptors. No upset picks tonight, so we're going to wrap it up here. Today, for the first 2 segments, we talked about the draft. Third segment, we talked about Milwaukee versus Boston Game 6. And then for this segment, pretty much just talked about Jason Witten. Antonio Gates gave an update on the Stanley Cup Playoffs and made my picks for tonight's NBA game. So thanks for listening to the GSMC Sports Podcast. We'll be back on Tuesday to talk more about the draft, rounds 2 through 7. So, as always, I am your host, Jesse Tapia. We'll talk to you later.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.